Good evening. I'm Dee from H&D Abroad. It is a pleasure to sit with you today in our March-April financial series. We got together last week um, to just chat and chill. Maybe that's what we ought to call Tuesdays is chat and chill. But yeah, so we could talk about money. Um, what are some things that you could put on your radar as you are completing your taxes? I typically don't file in February. I just gather my paperwork and then start slowly putting things in to our software. But y'all, I'm thinking a whole lot about the money I made and the money I did not make in 2024. Um, one of the things that I want to say, hello, Dr. Linda, Tokende Travel. My sister is here. Thank you for joining. One of the things that I recognize is or that I've recognized for at least the past 15 years is if you are getting a refund, that means you have too many withholdings. Yes, that means you are sending more than you need to the government, and then you have to ask for it back. And apparently you need to say pretty please with a cherry on top to make sure you get your funds back. So that's just a joke. I don't work for the IRS. Please work with your local tax professional when completing your taxes or when you are looking at your withholdings or other ways that you are sending what is our responsibility as U.S. citizens or residents, legal residents here in the states that are authorized to work. Some other goody goods that I hope that you're paying attention to is what's happening in the markets. Yeah, some of us might be knees shaking. Some of us might see this as an opportunity. So I hope you're paying attention to the information that's coming out, that you're getting familiar with money terms, even if you're not ready to invest in the stock market, if you're not really considering, buying property or other ways people are considering how to secure their today and their financial future. I hope that you're paying attention and that you're exposing yourself to quality content, that you are paying attention, because as we say here, all politics is local. Yes. If you are not going to your city council meetings, you definitely should. If you are not going to those town hall meetings, yes, when we're talking about money, these are the people who impact how much money comes into your pocket, what is allowable or not allowable within the transactions, whether it's the taxes you pay, city and state taxes that you pay. Y'all, you need to get to know your politicians. Don't ignore it. Hey, luxury bucket list. Hello, LD. Y'all know this. That's the hubs. Welcome, luxury bucket list. We're just going to keep rolling through I'm calling it Know Your Money series. So it's 4 weeks of content where we're talking about how to look at your money, how to look at it very closely, how to slice it and dice it and make it work for you. Today, Let's see. Oh, and H&D Abroad is my channel that I have with my husband. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm talking to the ladies, specifically about self-care, money, and other realism conversations that we need to be paying attention to. But most of all, importantly, that's important to me is that it's stuff I'm learning. Now, I am a open book when it comes to being a learner, being a lifetime learner. And I hope that you are engaging life in a similar fashion. So if this content is interesting to you, I invite you to like this video today and subscribe to our channel because we give this kind of content in addition to travel and moving abroad as an important part of our financial plan. Yeah. All right. So let's dig in. 3 money mistakes that can ruin you in an emergency. Why are we talking about emergencies? Because people are being let go from their jobs. Expected, unexpected. Mergers are happening. Companies are making decisions, or just it didn't fall your way. During evaluations, hopefully you're not on a performance improvement plan. Yeah, those are get ready signs that you might want to be looking around, not just for a job, but how you can secure yourself. The job market is tight. If you know what I'm talking about, give me some hands in the raised hands in the chat. The job market is tight, which means you still need money. And there are still plenty of people who are willing to spend money. So, what do you do in an emergency when your primary source of income is different? If you're being asked to take a pay cut, if y'all union negotiations are happening, there are a lot of things that may influence your money flow. So let's get into the details about some mistakes that I have made. I'm gonna try to sprinkle in some facts, but I'm also gonna sprinkle in some real life testimonials because my husband and I have navigated these, and I'm hoping that, like they say, when you know better, you can do better. So mistakes are just opportunities to learn. It doesn't mean that you will overcome each one of them, even if you do many of the things that we're talking about, many of the channels that we've mentioned before, and many others that are talking about your money. Doesn't mean that you won't make a mistake. It just means, look, I know how to identify that. So if it comes up again, or I have some planning time, take advantage of the time that you have. Yvette Boone, hello, sister. Let's just get into the details. So one of the things that we always bring up in this topic is how stats have shown that, look, people don't need a huge emergency. They don't need to lose their job for their money to start looking funny. Okay. You get a tire that gets a hole in it and they can't patch it. Tires are $100 or more, depending on your vehicle. The brakes start to squeak and you need more than just brake pads because you've been riding on prayer and air. These are, I mean, it's sometimes the little things, the unexpected, something that you didn't anticipate for, that your miscellaneous fund, if you've got a budget, that look, I didn't account for that, or I had that plus some other new thing that I need to take care of. It's not something that I can push down the road. Look, that is an emergency. And I think that might be a part of today's conversation too, is deciding what is an emergency. Because when you have an emergency fund, a pot of money, I call it an emergency fund, a little stash of money that I say when I have an emergency that I will use to cover me. Everything isn't an emergency. I want that new handbag. I want to go on this trip. Isn't necessarily an emergency. So determining for yourself what what a true emergency is, but it really should pale in comparison to when you're looking at, is this something that I absolutely need today or do I want it? Needs and wants is a great way to look at, is this an emergency? Is this something that I can put off for 30 days, for 2 weeks till I get my next paycheck, and then I can drop this purchase into an upcoming budget allocation. If it's something that you need to do or take care of today, or truly is not something that can wait, that is an emergency. Medical care, I'm just going to call it what it is. A lot of us are putting off going to the doctor with employer health insurance. It can be 125, 150, 185, depending on who you're going to see. What did the lady quote me today? $220 if the person is out of network for whatever reason that you might need to see them. I don't have that kind of money just sitting around. And so, deciding if it's an emergency, but if it is it truly is an immediate need, a medical need, I need to have some tests run. My doctor needs to be able to make a decision to protect my livelihood. Y'all, that's what the emergency fund is for. And then you build a plan to replace it. And so I say, what is an emergency is the beginning. The next part of that is most of us can't handle, and we're talking greater than 50% of working adults can't handle a $100 emergency. Those are stark facts. I will make sure that I put the statistics, I got to make a note, put the stats in the description. But yeah, you should at a minimum be able to handle a $100 emergency from a planning perspective. Ain't no shame if you don't have it. Standing up with you saying sometimes you just don't. And so we want to look at, one of the biggest mistakes is not having an emergency fund. Y'all, that commercial with the guy that's Mayhem, it's hilarious, but it is so true. It's just like Murphy's Law, whatever it is. It's like, if it can happen, it will happen. If it's going to, it's like an emergency can smell an empty bank account. It feels like it sometimes. And so, life is going to life. Things are going to happen. Even setting aside, we talked about last week. Hey, Kimmy Apple. Yeah, we talked last week, $5 a pay period, $10 a pay period. Look, is there something I can move over, especially when you can automate it and put it in an account that's over there? Usually without a debit card access, or without, where it take you a minute to get those funds, just have it. If you've got payroll deduct, but you can also set it up. We talked about Charles Schwab and Fidelity, and Vanguard, you can fund your cash management account where it will automatically come out every 2 weeks. I never plan a withdrawal like that on the day I'm supposed to get paid. You're going to get your money on Monday because I want to make sure if things don't go right on Friday, that I've got time to make sure that I don't get one of those insufficient funds that's going to tap into my money. So that's another tip. Y'all, I already gave you 2 tips, and we've got several more related to this topic, but yeah. So most people underestimate the importance of a cash reserve. I don't, for me, this is D, I am not a financial advisor. I'm just a person sharing financial education information. Okay. So the importance of a cash reserves is that you have at least one source that's holding some money for you. It can be a little bit, it can be a lot. Set a goal for yourself and then automate it. It's something you look in on every once in a while. I started with $5. Y'all, I lie to you not. I started with $5 because I wasn't making, I was just getting back. And I'm talking about this is within the 10 years. I was just like, I just got this job after having to piece together 2 jobs to make 1 job. So 10 years ago, I was like, let's start off with $5. You start seeing that money stack up and you're like, okay, $5 wasn't a big deal. Let's try $10. $10 wasn't a big deal. Let's try $25. 25. It's like once it's automated and you don't see it, if you have one way to automate it that really is a part of your payroll deduction is a lot of employers are using a self-service portal. You can go in, submit your W-2 information if things change. You can also designate, this is where you put in your routing number and your account number where you want your paycheck to go. And you do that. You don't have to go to your human resource professional. We appreciate you using the self-service portal. But you can also set up, for many employers, you can set up money to go to several different accounts. So you may want to have a bill paying account. You may want to have, but definitely for this conversation, this is where you would designate, sometimes even opening a account doesn't need to be high interest yield. That's not what this is for. This is quick grab money that I need literally in an emergency. And I can automate that from payroll. If you work for yourself, then you would need to automate it to come directly out of your once you do that business account transfer to pay yourself, then you're also funding that account. So whatever level of automation you can pull into that process will help you to create a cash reserve. How much do you really need? Let's start with 100. Let's start with $100. If you can hit $100, if $100 doesn't hit you like it might hit some of our budgets, then make it 500. One of the rules that we heard in a program that my husband and I took, Financial Peace University, they were like, if you don't make more than $20,000, $500 may be the first savings goal. Saving is a muscle that you have to build up. You have to build up not only for seeing that money go out of your paycheck or, seeing it go somewhere else. But it's also a muscle that mentally, like, that doesn't exist until it is a tremendous need. Kiki want to borrow $10, it don't come out of your emergency fund. Children, Aileen Brown, hey sister. Children that have run into an emergency, they don't get my emergency fund money unless it really is, it rises to the occasion of an emergency that I can't do. I don't consider my credit card my emergency fund. That's like a backup to the backup to the backup plan. I can put some cash reserves aside. I don't need a credit card bill now staring me in the face when I can draw on cash. Where do you keep your emergency savings for quick access? I mentioned having a separate account that is not, I don't even keep it at the same bank that my payroll comes to. Like, I need it to be completely separate. Some folks will put it in an account that you, because it's automated, if it doesn't have a minimum amount that you don't have to keep in there, that's good, because they will start taking money once it drops below a certain amount. Don't get caught in that. There are plenty of banks. I like it to be a local bank. I prefer credit unions if possible, because they're more of the relationship building than I feel like some of the other big banks are. So if you can find a credit union and you can fund it that way, you're not probably going to make a whole lot of, you're not going to probably gain any interest from depositing that money there, but it's somewhere that if you needed to, that you can have debit card access, but that debit card is not in your wallet. It's in your closet. It's in your safe. It's literally away from, it is not commingled with your funds. So yes, Dr. Oh, yes. Start with 10. Y'all, I'm serious. Baby steps. You hear me? Baby steps. I was like, I just needed to know I could do it and my family doesn't suffer. The things that we absolutely need to do don't suffer because I set $5 aside or I set $10 aside. If you've never done it before, look, it can be an emotional thing to be like, look, my blood, sweat, and tears represent these dollars and cents. I'm going to push it aside, but it is surprising how quickly it's just like, if I don't see it, I don't even think about it. But check in with it. You always want to monitor your money. But when you start to see that money grow, for me, it creates the incentive. Well, maybe I could add a little bit more, or maybe I can double it, because I know for a lot of people, March is the time frame in a lot of corporate employers. This is when you've gotten your pay raise. Hey, take that pay raise money, stay at the same level that you were last year. Maybe minus something for inflation, because it be happening like that. So just keeping your money separate, having an account that's just for that purpose, automating through using your self-service portal. I think you can do it even on a tight budget. Y'all, my grandparents, my grandparents were not college educated people. I remember my grandfather, we called it cornbread paper. Y'all, if y'all old enough to know what I'm talking about, put cornbread paper in the chat. That's what the kids used to learn how to write. It had the big lines on it, but he had this little notebook, cornbread paper, and he would do calculations. He would have that notebook and a little stubby pencil, and he would calculate how much how much is left, how much more do I have? Okay. I took those lessons and said, I can do at a minimum what my grandparents were able to do. We talked about piggy banks before. It is a muscle that you build. It is confidence. It is also check into even something as simple as what is it called? Remember the Christmas clubs? Y'all, a lot of these banks still have, they may not call them Christmas club accounts, but they do have similar kinds of programs. Check into what is available so that you don't touch your money. Yes. Yeah, don't touch that money. Um, I I agree. Hello with Real Understanding Podcast. That was something that I keeping cash on hand. So, having a few dollars. Okay. So saving this is accessible cash and not necessarily a part of my savings, but keeping some cash on hand, going to a cash based system is one of the ways that we stay in budget. I definitely want to bring this idea back when we're talking about building a budget. But yeah, you keeping cash on hand or going cashless, yo, you don't realize how many times you swipe that debit card. Next time you get a chance, you can, when they send you that electronic statement, or if you haven't gone paperless, the physical statement, see, they calculate how many debit card transactions you have within a month. I'm just saying, if you want to be surprised, you will be surprised. Yes. Hey, Sam. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Kicking It with Kim. Good evening. So, our mistake number one is relying only, is no emergency fund. We've talked about how to build it, how to automate it, how to forget it, and how to develop the muscle of saving through automation. Relying on one income is mistake number two. Y'all, if you out here with one job, I'm sorry. That don't cut it no more. It doesn't. I bought into that. I was like, I am a college educated person. One job should fulfill my needs. I want my one job. We don't put our households at risk by having one job. One way that we generate funds. Okay? Dr. Linda is my go-to for how do I develop a secondary income source. I'm not talking about passive income that's going to double, triple your money. I'm just talking about something that I can start doing with the skills I already have. Okay. Let me tell you, when I was younger, I couldn't have a job, y'all. The labor laws are there for a reason. Couldn't have a job. I probably was 11, 12. I was going on a school trip, and I needed some extra cash. And my mom and dad were like, if you want extra cash, then you're going to need to find a little something to do. I could clean a bathroom. You hear me? That was my job. My sister and I rotated those responsibilities at home, and I started marketing. I can clean your bathroom. I want to do the thing that you don't want to do. And so I got hired. Some relatives, thank goodness. I had one reliable relative that was like, you can come. Girl, I put her on the calendar. I was like, I will come every week I think she used to pay me something like $15, $10, $15 to clean her bathroom, empty the trash, clean the tub, clean the sink, clean the toilet, sweep and mop the floor, and that I was going to do a good job because I wanted to be able to get that money. And I could see it. If that could work for a 10 or 11-year-old, what talents are you sitting on that somebody is paying you for in your day job that you could relieve someone else from having to do the thing that they probably don't want to do? Y'all, if they've got valet services at apartments where you put your trash outside, it used to be an elected benefit. So they would have, I don't know what trash, it's just called like trash valet. But it used to be something you could add on. Now apartment complexes are just including it in the price of people's rent. And so a whole apartment complexes are now having these valet services. People come through, they pick up your trash. On a certain day, you put the trash can out the door. Yo, that's a whole skill. You know how to cook a meal? You don't need to go get a licensed kitchen. A personal chef goes in someone's home under contract. They provide the food. You cook in their home, private chef. You got to have some skills now. You got to have some people that can say they can bake, they can cook. But I'm saying these are natural skills that you may already be using that have served you well. Reading emails, replying back to calls, small business owners, that can be a little bit of tedious work. Have you thought about being a virtual assistant? What can you do that you already know how to do that could help relieve someone else's, I don't want to do that? Okay. Or it's a valued skill that you've honed and someone's business, okay, someone's organization could benefit from. You price it well as a contract, as a consultant, you've got a secondary source of income that, yes, you do have to calculate your taxes to pay, but it's something. Being a speaker can be quite lucrative. Can you talk about a topic and learn how to tailor information to a target population? There are whole lists out there of conferences, organizations that are looking for speakers. Oh goodness, I guess that was 3 years ago. Exodus Summit had the financial summit from 2022. And there's a lady that presented and she was like, I will email you speaking engagements. It just comes to your email. You don't have to find it. You just have to apply. Y'all, she is helping people to solve a problem. What can you do to solve a problem? Y'all, I don't know if I want to say my idea out loud, but I'm telling you, there are things people don't want to do. Taking people to the doctor. Look, people have monetized things that either time, or I would prefer not to do it, has opened not just businesses, but opportunities for people on a short-term or long-term basis. Look, it keeps the money flowing. It keeps the money flowing. Multiple income streams are key to financial survival. Yes, when we're talking about money mistakes that can ruin you in an emergency, an emergency means I'm in survival mode. It also means I'm probably not going to be spending what I would normally spend with my regular budget. I either am dialing back or I'm cutting some things off. If you have an idea of what that is, I guess the next one's going to be the budget conversation. I've already been thinking about how to lay it out, but if you know the core things that would keep your household running, that you need to, I can't let internet go because I'm a remote worker. You know what I'm saying? I can't, I can't turn my car back in, because, this or that. Whatever you have decided beforehand, while you have time to look into what my budget is, then you can decide how much of a or multiple, I'm going to say multiple side hustles you should have. Cuz get this. This is this is how we broke it down. With our budget, we said whatever our core things are. Okay? We would list it from most important, my four walls. I need to be able to stay in my house. To the things that might be $50 or $100 that were really important. Then I started saying, what's a thing I could do to make this money? If my income slightly shifted or I lost my primary income. Okay, I know how to make the $50, the $100. Okay. And so you would build your emergency financial structure, that survival scaffolding to maintain the core functions of your life. That is definitely one strategy that has worked for us. So I don't like side hustle. I don't like the term side hustle. I don't like passive income. It's going to be work. Okay. It takes work to set it up. It takes work to maintain it. If it was passive, everybody, in the true definition of I do something, I get a lot of money and I don't think about it, everybody would be doing it. So I would definitely be considering how can I generate the basic things in my budget, line item by line item. Let's see. Y'all, if you didn't know that the number one way that people's backs get pushed against the wall, and I'm talking about people with jobs, people with employer health insurance, we are still declaring bankruptcy because of medical debt, medical bills. Something happened to your leg, something happened to your knee, a stroke, a heart attack. I can do FMLA, but FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act, doesn't cover your income. It holds your job for a period of time if your employer qualifies. But you need to know that medical expenses, unexpected medical expenses, definitely can wipe out your finances with a credit card, with an emergency fund. It can hit you really hard. Girl, you did not bring back the quarters. Anybody else remember it was a little card and they would have quarters that you could line up for your savings plan? Man. Okay, yes, that's a beautiful blast from my past that I remember. Yes, I'm of the generation of the piggy bank. Yes. So yes. Oh, come on now. Generated funds from your family. Yes, the cuss jar or some equivalent. Yes. Some change jar. Look, I'm a mama. I loved washing my young adults' clothing. Cause what? The laundry room was loot heaven. But it's always a great place to put a jar and all those pennies, quarters, nickels, dimes. If you're paying cash, you've got somewhere to put it and it can definitely come in handy. Oh, come on now. Sam is my go-to, y'all. Relying on one source of income is a mistake. Oh, especially those of us who consider ourselves to have a good job. I'm not glossing over this at all. We have invested tens of thousands of dollars. Some of us, if you go back to my student loan, it was well over $100,000 that we have invested time. We have invested that I don't have to like stress myself out and do multiple things. But y'all, you're not gonna catch me out here. You're not gonna catch me out here with nothing because they ask me for a 2-week notice at my job. I wish they would give me notice when they're ready to downsize or make adjustments to the bottom line to stay viable. Just saying, y'all. It's definitely not a part of the landscape that I had considered vital before, but we have shared that H and I lost our 2 good government jobs within 2 weeks of each other. Boom. Flat on my butt. Talk about anxiety, depression, stress. Yes. I will look for the lady that does the speaking emails, Maya. Um, Message me on Instagram and I will go back and look at the lineup for the 2022 Exodus Summit. They may also still have the replays if you want to hear her conversation. But yeah, I would even Google because she may not be the only one, but I choose as a primary to support Black business when I have the opportunity. And so I would definitely make sure that if you want to have that opportunity, that I make that available. Yeah, you ain't got to be rich. Rich, poor, everybody needs to have a couple of ways. So, yeah, there are a couple of ways I can generate income. And I'm not just talking about that I have to work for. Sometimes you need to know how to leverage a consignment shop. You need to know how to leverage some Facebook Marketplace, some eBay, some other platforms. I've already identified some things that if I get in a pinch, these are some things that can go. Hey, do I really need that second car, or can Carvana come pick that girl up? And now I've got a substantial emergency fund that I can put at an Ally bank. Thank you for sharing that in the chat. I'm trying to find out who gave me Ally Bank. There we go. Yep. You get some serious interest, some good interest, a better interest rate than you would with a general savings account. So that is usually a premium is where I would put a good chunk of money and not necessarily my my everyday fund. With Financial Peace, they were like $1,000 is the basement. If you don't make more than $20,000 or $24,000, they were like, make it 500. So definitely diversify your income, even if you work even if you work full time. Something that maybe you could do on the weekends or in the evenings for a few hours. Yeah. A lot of folks do ride share. They do ride share. They do the food delivery, the grocery store delivery. Y'all, there are lots of ways. There are lots of ways. Leverage not just to leverage your time for money. Let's see. Hey, Tanya Brooks. All right. So mistake number 1 was no emergency fund. We've talked about why having an emergency fund, where to save it. Mistake number 2 was relying on only one income. We've talked about why the current environment should help you to see my federal employee friends. Many folks that I know are dual government job households. And so if sometimes if one sector gets hit, the other one doesn't, but y'all, I mean, it's like dominoes in some industries. So you definitely want to have in mind and start as soon as possible. It may take it a minute to ramp up. So giving yourself the benefit of not waiting by trying a few things, um, and then moving forward with finding what works, finding a few things that work for you that you can fit into your life. That if you're doing it now, that's how you can fund keep your full-time job coming into your. Maybe this is how you fund your savings after you meet an initial goal. But starting today, because hindsight, y'all, is 2020. Them tears are bitter, bitter, bitter. Speaking from experience. Mistake number 3 is keeping all your money in one place. So I shared about the basketball player, cannot remember what his name was, saying, and I'm pretty sure it's more than one of them, was like, I grew up with grandparents and parents that did not trust the banking system. Please do not keep your cash underneath your mattress. It is dangerous, 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 dangerous. But diversifying where your money is, we talked about earlier in today's conversation, that you should have some separate accounts, some locations that make it a little bit difficult to get access to those emergency funds, but also they have a specific purpose. So your main account that you may have your payroll deposited into is just one. Some of us are dividing things. So if I've automated my bills, I should definitely have a separate account for that so it doesn't hit. So I'm not dipping and spending money out of the same bucket that's going to auto withdraw out of the account, because don't nobody want no insufficient funds hits, because them girls are, I've heard $32 or more. Okay. For the insufficient funds. And I don't want to pay you just in case I have a bounced withdrawal. So let's see. All right. Another reason why you don't want to have all your money in one place is assets get frozen for whatever reason with one institution. Not saying that you are running from a legal responsibility, because they can find you because of the information that they collect when they set up your account. So I'm definitely not saying that. But what I'm saying is, if something happens at a bank, the power goes out, the systems go down, there's been a hack, have some money going somewhere else. Okay. Those of us who are going out of the country understand the heightened importance of that. Okay. I watched a couple there. Someone broke into their Airbnb and stole what they had their bank cards in. The husbands. The wife had something separate. And so that's one way to think about diversifying. If you're married, being able to have possibly 2 locations, you're still working a centralized budget, but some money goes over here and some money goes over there. April and Rondell I'm trying to remember, they were working in China, and I think they went to Thailand or Malaysia, and used the bank card somebody had one of those badge reader, those readers swipe their card and emptied the account. They had just gotten paid, but they had their main funds in the account that they were trying to withdraw from, and they had a separate account where they had some money, their in case money. Aren't you glad? I know they were glad while they were, I'll explain what they did, but they were very glad to have diversified their funds because of that. Um, Having all your money, in the cloud. There are virtual banks that don't have a physical location. I think you should have a credit union. I think you should have a major, regional bank. I think you should have a online bank. I think you should have. We've talked specifically about Wise. We've talked about Ally. You should have different places where you have funds in case one card doesn't work. Y'all, where were we? And I tried to use my debit card when we were out of the country, and it was like they wouldn't move funds. Yes, um, I went through and notified them of my travel, but whatever was going on with this card, it did not work. Please have at least one or two or more additional cards, so that you can have access to your funds. Somebody, the Wealth Twins said, blew my mind. You can get a separate account with Schwab or Fidelity or Vanguard. You can have different money market accounts that you have a card for, but because it's with the same institution, you can transfer the funds between accounts. I was like, oh, you can have more than one? You can have more than one? You mean y'all, I'm just telling you, that's why you get out here and you get on these channels. You, even when you think you know something, listen, because you'll pick up something new. So yes, you can have more than one Fidelity cash management account. So get a card for each of them so that you can, if one gets compromised, you can just move that money over, keep going with your backup. Girl, not $40. Y'all, that insufficient fund, they be out here wilding out. Okay. Yes. Beware. If you don't know what it is, this may not be popular, but not looking for better rates on car and home insurance. Look, this is for the budget conversation, but I wanted you all to see we got to start comparing. And I'm going to say it is a part of the emergency conversation because, yes, in your budget, you want to maximize your funds, you want to pay your bills on time. But if you can save a few dollars because you've been a loyal customer, or now they have a new plan, or you didn't recognize that, y'all, we were on a legacy family plan with our cell phone service, and they were like, "You haven't been hit by the last several updates. We got you. Every phone line is going to go up $10." I was like, $30. Why my immediately I was like, why my bill look different? And they were like, well, we'll waive it for now. I was like, pay attention. If you can save money, I've talked about before, if you can go from having that money taken out monthly to having it taken, paying a quarterly or a lump sum every 6 months, that can save you every little. From my perspective, every little bit helps. Doing some comparison shopping at least once a year, y'all. That hack of I'm gonna cancel and let me see if they give me a deal. Yo, Audible. I ain't gonna say. I'm just saying. Sometimes you can get better rates if you say, I'm considering canceling. See if there is negotiation. You have provided your loyalty, you have paid for their service. Do you have any new plans? Is there a way for me to get a better rate? Can you match this quote for for similar services? Okay? Do that. Do that. Do that. Hello, Michelle Lynn Thompson. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Jice. Y'all, I'm saying when you have all your money in one place, everybody doesn't have all the best deals. There's a reason why we use Ally. There's a reason why we use Wise. There's a reason why we use the cash management systems, cash management accounts through Charles Schwab, through Fidelity, through Vanguard. There's a strategy for, hey, if I need to get a loan, a credit union's going to give me usually a better rate than a big bank. I've got some ability to look at making a better decision. And every rung should have a reason or purpose. And then you go back and find out, is it still working? Is your plan still working? Yes, you need a mix of liquid cash. So this is money you can get access to in an emergency. And we talked about what is an emergency at the top of the hour if you are joining us on the replay. If you have liquid cash, we also talked, the liquid cash could also be a little cash stash. Y'all, we're not talking about thousands of dollars. We're talking about, some money that, the guy comes in our neighborhood. I don't have a lawn service, but I like my yard edged. I can run in there, grab some cash, pay the young man to edge my yard. That's what that's for. Like, I planned for it. It's sitting there. It serves that purpose. I come back. I have a plan for replacing it. Let's see. Y'all, if y'all have more tips, hello, Abroad Ability. That's my sister. Y'all, we out here in these hustle streets. These capitalizing on our skill streets. If you please subscribe to her channel. If we were taught this as children, generational wealth would be a reality for many. How to handle money is a touchy subject, especially sometimes in Black homes, especially when if there are struggle components. I remember the first time my dad sat the bills out, handed me the checkbook, and had me write the checks to pay those bills. I was like, we're going to turn off some lights up in here. I know how much it cost. Okay. I wasn't blind. Even if something as simple as I wasn't blindsided by how much life actually cost. Okay. When our son started shopping for his extracurricular groceries, it was like, oh, I might want to dial it back and eat y'all food before I eat mine. Okay. You can tell I'm struggling. We got the last young person in our house. But yeah, I think forgiving the process of how we have learned things, it's never too late. I'm 50 plus. I'm dropping in what I know when I know it. But you can, like we say, if you know better, when you know better, you do better. And then sharing those things with our nieces, nephew, and our young adults that are in a position with their starter jobs to do well. The thrift savings account, if you're a federal employee, doesn't give you a whole lot of wiggle room, but just grab those matching funds where you can. Use the tools that are available to you. There are whole services that you probably paying for coming out of your account every month, but you don't look at your statement and go, what is that? Y'all, Amazon was taking, I got the video plan for the holiday. I was like, what is this charge? This Amazon charge. I got it under the free. Totally missed the reminder. And there goes that $10. And I was like, oh no, we don't give away money here. So taking a look, see where those funds are going. Have a place where those funds are automatically debited. And we've talked about using the self-service if you have an employer or automating, but also today we talked about having a checking account or a savings account that is just for your bill money. Yeah, things that you automate every month. Yeah, there's a way for you to consider it. We also talked about with all of your money in one place, that if you are a couple, that you consider having your funds go in a few different directions so that if something happens to one account, that you still have access to funds. If you have a couple of streams of income, okay, from a banking and an accounting and keeping up with what you owe tax wise to the people you owe it to, having those different accounts. If you are tracking the funds that you're making, having those in separate accounts as well will help, just having an eye on, look, how can I diversify where I'm receiving my money and where I'm holding my money, so that an emergency where I think I have funds, I remember watching A Different World, and Whitley was like, I found $500. And her roommate later said, where's the rent? And she was like, oh, that was what that was for. Oh, goodness. Yeah. We pay. There are a lot of ways. So this is testimonial time. So I'm going to put Michelle's up here as testimonial. We pay car tax as personal property tax. Be sure to ask about reduced rates for high mileage if you have to pay car tax in your area. I'm exempt from tax now just for calling about it. If you are of a certain age, along this same vein, my mother called me jumping for joy. When you reach a certain age, sometimes your property tax can be reduced. Now, it depends on your county, and these are hard financial times. So what may have been available in the past may not be available now. But sometimes you get those age-related discounts. Sometimes you get those age-related, what do you call that? When you're on a fixed income, when you're no longer working, sometimes you can have things available from your state or from your county. Look into it, call about it, and then hire a good tax professional that is paid to know these things. Yes, we can be a detective of our experience. Yes, we can use AI, Chat GPT, to get some ideas of where we could make some, get some discounts, get some cost reductions. But yeah, that is definitely one beautiful way. Congratulations, Michelle. Oh, yes. All right. Testimony time continues. New life curator. I diversified bank accounts because I lost hundreds of dollars when my 30-year account was audited and they could not find POA paperwork from 26 years ago. Wow. Wow. Look, I'm telling you, this is a learning community. This is a learning community. So I say this, money drives a lot of our decisions. It can drive a lot of emotional, you can get some emotional mileage out of concern for money, especially emergencies. Having a plan, from my perspective, is how I'm able to recognize that emergencies are a part of living. One, I didn't do something wrong and that's why I'm in emergency. Not necessarily. But having a plan and working my plan gives me some relief. I'm not trying to figure it out because I've taken the time to think about it ahead of time. I hope that you have thought about some things. I hope that you have set some personal goals in place. Yes. And that you know, what is all these lines? What are all these lines? Were they taking money? Like everybody got their hand out. Medicaid, Medicare, FICA, Social Security, state tax, county tax, city tax. It's just like taxing on your taxes tax. Don't, and then don't create new um, don't create new bills by neglecting to pay attention to some others. So we talked about insufficient funds being, the little thing that can eat away at your money. Not checking into discounts is a way that can eat into the money that could have gone to an emergency fund. Of your pot of money or pots of money that are there when you have Murphy, or when life is lifing. So I hope that whether it brings you peace, yes, yes. If I could bring home what was in my gross income, hallelujah, hallelujah. But there's always going to be some reason, some way that somebody's going to have their hands out, because we are a money exchange society. And so to do many of the things that we need to do, we need to have an emergency plan in place. So top 3 mistakes that I think you can be paying attention to is no emergency fund, relying only on one income, and keeping your money in one place. If you have others that you think folks need to pay attention to, and you joined us live today, thank you. If you're joining us in the replay, we're gonna look. I respond to every single comment. If you don't think that these should be paid attention to, look, there is free speech is available here, is available. But also, if you have other tips that you have learned or you have benefited from, or a testimonial of how you found a pit, made a pivot. Oh, shoot, I need to write that down. Then share it with the community. We'd like to know. We'd like to celebrate you. We'd like to be the cheerleaders that move you from I don't have a savings muscle to I have a savings muscle. I know where my spending is going, and that there is equality in the quality of life you desire today and into the future. Y'all, thank you for joining me on Tuesday. I'll see y'all next Tuesday for part 3. Have a good day. Bye for now. Please don't forget to like this video, share it with a friend.